Welcome to Package Your Genius. I'm your host, Amanda Miller Littlejohn. I'm a former print journalist turned PR and personal branding pro, and I am here to help high achievers like you bring your genius ideas to life. Whatever gift you have to give the world, I want to be a catalyst for your next genius move. If you're ready to stop overthinking it and start putting yourself out there, you're in the right place. Let's go. On my last episode, I talked about radical self-discovery and how important it is to know yourself if you want to begin to be in a position to make the best decisions for you. I wanted to talk a little bit today about how we can break down self-discovery and knowing oneself in a way that we can start to notice and look for the things that are most important to us and to our own recipe for success. So if you think about plants and flowers, and I guess I'm thinking about them because I wouldn't say I have a green thumb, but both of my parents had green thumbs, and I've tried to learn how to keep plants growing. I kill about as many plants as I keep alive each year, but I keep trying because I love plants and I want them in my home and even outside of my house, but it's not always easy. This summer, I felt like we did a better job of keeping the outdoor plants alive, but when I think about just flowers and plants that you're intentionally trying to grow, they live by a set of principles that I think we would do really well to pay attention to for our own sake and pay attention to the same conditions that we may have in our lives. So every living thing has its own set of requirements for survival, and beyond survival, every living thing has its own set of conditions that would also make it hard to grow. And further still, every living thing has certain factors that would cause it to thrive to the point of multiplying and just growing all over the place and flourishing, right? And the same goes for both you and I. So when we think about the must-haves, the basic things that we need to be okay, to survive, to be in the game, let's consider those our nutrients, right? Like when you think about plants. And then the things that kind of hold us back and keep us from thriving and growing. Like we're here, we're surviving, but we're not moving forward. I consider those deal breakers. And a plant that might be weeds or pests that eat away at the plant and kind of, the plant's here, but it's struggling, right? It looks all crazy. It's got holes in the leaves. And so it's still alive, but it's not pretty. And then last, you have those multiplying factors that when put upon your life, they allow you to be your very best self. It's like throwing gasoline on a fire. And so if you think about a plant, that would look like fertilizer. So when you think about you, your life, your relationships, your work, what are your nutrients? What are your pests? And what are your fertilizers? I want you to really be thinking about that as the days go on. What are your nutrients? So the basic must-haves for survival. What are your pests? What are those things that are deal breakers for you? The things that kind of keep you stalled, stuck, and unable to grow. And then what are your fertilizers? What are the multiplying factors that when they are present in your life, you go nuts, you go crazy, like you begin to grow and thrive beyond your wildest dreams. So when I think about myself and my own must-haves and nutrients, I would say that I need to have fulfilling work. I need to have alone time to think, and I need to have Well, I wouldn't say nature is a nutrient. It definitely is. On the other side, it's more of a fertilizer because I can make it without having nature in my life on a day-to-day basis, but it's not necessarily how I prefer to exist. But in terms of just what do I need to get by, I do need fulfilling work. For me, I can't function if I'm going somewhere I hate every day, or I have a toxic workplace, or I have to deal with people who are mean. I can't even baseline survive that way. I'm just a more sensitive person. I have a more sensitive system. And fortunately, the way that I've kind of set life up, I am able to move in a way that is not a concern for me. But even if I one day chose to go into a work environment, it would definitely have to not be toxic. When I think about pests or deal breakers, things that kind of keep me from thriving, I would say confusion, drama. I just don't do well. That's a deal breaker for me. Low integrity, dishonesty. I'm not really able to have mental focus if I don't feel like I can trust the people around me. And so honesty is a big piece. Integrity is a big piece when I'm looking at and evaluating relationships. If I don't feel like there's integrity or trust there, it's just really hard for me to grow in that relationship. So it's stuck, it's stalled, right? It does not move forward. And then when I think about the fertilizer or the multiplying factors, I see freedom as a multiplying factor for me. When I have freedom to create, I thrive. I can typically do more than I could, I think, with restraints. And then another multiplying factor for me is depth. So intellectual depth. So especially when I think about friendships, relationships, if there is, if we have things in common and someone has integrity, right? So that's that level 2. You are an honest person and I trust you. But if we don't have that intellectual depth, if I don't feel like I'm learning from you and sharing with you, then the multiplying factor isn't there. And I know this about myself. I have looked at past friendships just to see for the friendships that really worked and worked well for me. And even for like family relationships, what is it about those relationships that I really hold tightly and I really prioritize? What is it about them that's missing from the others? And I think aside from trust and the integrity piece, being able to learn from someone is really important to me. I found that if I can learn from you, I'll keep coming back to you and I'll prioritize you in my life. And so one of the things I love about my work is I typically work with high achieving professionals who are experts in their fields. And so in the process of me teaching them or coaching them or building with them around packaging their genius or building their personal brands and creating visibility, I also get the chance to learn from them because they are so smart and accomplished in their areas of expertise. And so when I write on my sales pages or I talk about what I'm looking for in a client, I am sure to mention that. I always say and specify that I work with high achievers who are accomplished and know a whole lot about whatever it is that they do, because I want to be able to learn from them too. It's not just about you coming and sitting down in the classroom and I stand before you and teach. It's an exchange. And for me to be energized to teach you on some level, I've noticed that it's important for me to feel like I am learning too. But again, this is all from paying attention to what works and what has worked well in the past and what lights me up. What are some of the things that are just okay, like, could take it or leave it? And then what's the difference between the take it or leave it and the, oh my God, yes, I want to do more of that. I want to do more of that. So I think self-discovery and really understanding yourself comes down to dissecting both the good, the bad, and the mediocre. So you can't simply pay attention to when everything is great. What does that look like? You also have to understand when things aren't so great, when you don't feel like you're at your best, when you don't feel like a relationship is working. What are the common threads and the common themes in those situations so that you can kind of make those your deal breakers moving forward? If you know that dishonesty is a deal breaker for you and that you will always be on edge if you are in community with someone you really do not trust, then you know that moving forward, you cannot invite people into your space if you don't have a base level of trust, or if you've seen a lack of integrity from how they treat people in their personal lives or in their businesses or at work. You know that they can only get so close to you. So pay attention to when things are great, when things are not so great, but also when things are just mediocre. I've had situations where I've looked at, for example, a relationship and it seemed great. It was good. It was okay, right? It was decent. I don't have any complaints, but I'm not singing from the rooftops either. And not to say that every single relationship has to be that way, but when you can understand what is a part of those relationships that are amazing and that make you want to sing from the rooftops, you understand your recipe for growth, which after studying it for so long, I have realized that like a big piece for me is just feeling like I can learn from people. So I've met amazing people where I felt as though the integrity was there. We get along okay, but my interest wanes if I'm not learning, and that's just a piece of who I am. Sometimes I wish it weren't that way, but it just is what it is, and I'm not going to judge it, but I understand it. And so I know what to look for and watch out for, but I also know, okay, why am I starting to lose interest? I'm not learning. So I could have predicted this, or I should have known better. And so what ends up happening is you end up saving yourself a lot of time when you understand yourself and you know yourself, because you can kind of see where things are going in the future. So again, I want you to think about your nutrients. What are your must-haves just for basic survival, right? So if you don't have these things, you won't make it. What are the nutrients? What's that base level required from your relationships and from your work? Then I want you to think about your pests. What are those deal breakers that when they are involved, you begin to see yourself regress? Your progress moves backwards and you don't feel like you are moving ahead at all. Those are things obviously you want to avoid. And lastly, what is your fertilizer or your fertilizers if you have more than one? So when you put that specific factor in a situation, you begin to grow and your efforts are multiplied. Your creativity is multiplied. Your success is multiplied. I know for me, like I said before, nature is not necessarily a must-have. I can make it without it. But when you add nature and time to think into my mix, that is a multiplying factor for me, because it allows me to process my thoughts and to make connections and to see what's next for me, where I should be putting my energy so that I can grow, where I should be prioritizing my time, what things I should double down on, what things I should remove, where am I missing something, what's falling through the cracks. Having that time on a daily basis is so critical. And yes, there are seasons of my life where I haven't had it, and I can definitely see the difference between when I don't have it and when I do. So what is that fertilizer for you, for your ideas, for your relationships? What makes you feel like everything is just growing and flourishing? These are ideal conditions. So I hope that was helpful for you. I understand that for some of us, introspection is just a regular part of our lives. But I've learned as I've gotten older that not everyone is prone to introspection, and not everyone has time to sit around and think about how they feel about things. So I'm hoping that these questions can help you kickstart that process if it's not natural to you. And even if it is natural to you, if you just haven't made time for it in the recent future, I hope in the recent past, I hope that this simple framework of thinking about yourself as a plant. So what are your nutrients, your pests, and your fertilizers? I hope that simple framework will help you begin to identify the things that help you thrive and the things that help you grow. All right. So we are nearing the end of our enrollment period for Package Your Genius Academy and Maximum Exposure. So if you are looking for a place to grow in the last quarter of 2019, join us on packageyourgeniusacademy.com to learn more about our program offerings for this fall. I'm getting excited about the start of, a new semester in Package Your Genius Academy. We've got some great new people who have joined the program, and just super excited about everything we're going to experience this season. So if you want to get in on it, you can visit packageyourgeniusacademy.com. I wanted to shout out the book, Package Your Genius, 5 Steps to Build Your Most Powerful Personal Brand. As of this weekend, that book has been in the world for a full year. I can't believe it. It's been an exciting journey so far, being an author and having you all connect with that content and learn about yourselves and the process to build a personal brand. But also, we cover a lot of self-discovery in the first part of the book. It's broken down in 5 steps. So the first step is all about get clear on your brand. And that's really a self-discovery process and a way to take a personal inventory of yourself and what constitutes your success. So thank you guys, everyone who has bought a copy of the book, who's reviewed the book on Amazon, who's bought the book and given it to friends. I so appreciate all of you. And if you haven't gotten it yet, it's truly a gem. I'm still receiving feedback from people who maybe even bought it a while ago and just now cracked it open and can't believe they've been missing out all of these months. So that's always exciting to hear when you read the book and have all these amazing revelations. So if you have not gotten your copy yet, check it out on Amazon. Package Your Genius, 5 Steps to Build Your Most Powerful Personal Brand. And it also has a companion workbook that you can buy separately. That's all I got for you tonight, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye.